start right on time. First off, thank you for being here. We're so very grateful that there's this many people here tonight. Hopefully even more are still coming, so thank you for being here. On behalf of the Chamber, we welcome you and thank you for being here. My name is Ken Holst. I've been asked by the Chamber to moderate our event tonight, and I'm equally impressed and happy to see that there are so many candidates that have agreed to put their name forward in this by-election to fill some big shoes. Former Councillor Alf Rudd is here with us, and we have some big shoes to fill, so I'm grateful for so many of them being here and putting their name forward, and again, being here tonight and being in front of all of you. So it's a great event. Thank you again for being here, and it really gives me encouragement that there are so many of you and so many of these people that are here caring for our town and wanting to do what's best and wanting to give. So again, I appreciate that. I will just quickly go down the row and introduce each of our candidates. Before many of you arrived, we did choose numbers for them to be sat in a specific order on the table, so it isn't random, just so that you're aware. So they are sitting here in a specific order, and those order at the table will also determine how we rotate the questions through and how they'll answer those questions. So Mr. Daniel Remford is in our number 1 seat. Number 2 is Kat Champagne. 3, Ian Croft. 4, Dale Tillman. Number 5 is Naomi Wiebe. Number 6 is Manny Parhar. And number 7 is Mike Kirshnak. So this is your panel for tonight. They've been sitting here quite a while, and they're sweating, and they're nervous, and they've been watching. Let's just clap for them to say, hey, thanks for being here. There, you can see they feel much better now, much more relaxed. Thank you for doing that. Okay, I'm just going to go over a few of the rules so that, sorry, I'll try and hold this a little closer. I'll go over a few of the rules. As you can see from the Chamber, we've got Rick here, who is going to be working our traffic light that has green, yellow, and red. So each of our candidates will very shortly be able to give you an opening comment, kind of just introduce themselves, talk about what it is that they want to say to you. That will happen at the beginning. They'll be given 3 minutes each. At the end of tonight, they will also be given 3 minutes to sum that up, to sum the whole night up. So they'll be given those 2 opportunities for 3 minutes. We are timing them, and so if all of a sudden, I cut them off and you guys say, whoa, that guy's really rude up there. Those are the rules of the event tonight, and so we will be showing them. They are timed, and that's what makes it fair for everyone. So at 2.5 minutes of their opening, at 2.5 minutes, their light will go yellow, knowing they only have 30 minutes to finish. And then at 3 minutes, it will go red. I'll let them finish their sentence, basically, and then we'll ask them to end. Questions that we will be asking them throughout the night. We have some preset questions that I'll be asking first. Then we've had some questions that we have had submitted in to the Chamber. We'll be asking some of those next. And those, they will have 2 minutes to respond to. So each of those candidates will be able to give in 2 minutes to respond. And again, very much the same. At 1.5 minutes, the light will go yellow, and at 2 minutes, the light will go red, and we'll cut them off. After those questions are done, we are going to open up for any of you to ask questions if you want. And that's why this microphone is here. At that particular time, you can come up. You can come to the microphone. You will be given 1 minute to ask a question, because sometimes question askers can ramble and give long stories and try and give a prelude to their question. So in interest of time, if you come up to the mic, we are going to limit you to 1 minute, and we're even going to time you, and the lights will apply to you. So at 45 seconds, you will get a yellow light, and at 1 minute, you'll get a red light, and we'll hope you have your question asked by then. We hope that you keep those questions proper. I will, as the moderator, if it is inappropriate or if it might be in some way not in the spirit of what we're trying to do here, I may cut you off, or I may ask you to stop, or I may ask you to rephrase your question. Again, this is for information, and we want this to be a good forum for everyone to be able to learn that information that they need. I think that for the most part is most of the housekeeping. Rick, have I forgotten anything? Anne, have I forgotten anything? Oh, yes, okay. Yeah, so we do have viewers at home that are watching as well, and we're grateful for all of them being online, any that are online. I believe after the fact, if you want to come and watch us again, it will be on the Chamber YouTube channel as well, as early as tomorrow. As well as on the Facebook page. Thank you, Rick. Okay. All right, I am actually going to be sitting at this table as we ask the questions and go through. But yeah, that's how the night is going to go. So we are going to start in timing with number one. And so again, just the rotation, just so you understand that. So Danny has picked number one. He chose number one, and so he's going to be able to be the first person to go through the 3-minute questions, the 3-minute introductions. So the very first question we ask, though, Kat will then be the first one to answer, and we'll go through that way and then come back and finish here. And just so that way we rotate through, everyone will have the same opportunities to go first or last or fifth or whatever the case may be. So with that all said, we will go ahead. Mr. Remford, please go ahead and take your 3 minutes. You're on the clock.
Okay, well, thanks for everybody for coming. My name is Dan Remford. I'm 42 years old. I've got 2 kids, a daughter that's 12, dances across the street, newly certified babysitter if any of you are looking. I've got a son that's 15, been part of soccer, minor hockey, goes to school here. My wife, Christy, we got married here in 2007. She's worked in the human services field in Taber for the last 20 years, been part of with TCAPS, and currently works with Child and Family Services here in town. I myself am a small business owner in town. It's a Royal Hotel here just a block east. I actually grew up in the living upstairs. My first 5 years in Taber were living right downtown. Learned to ride my bike from the Royal to Shop Easy, right? I've been active in our community with soccer, baseball, minor hockey. I've been on the minor hockey board the last 9 years. I'm currently the president of Taber Minor Hockey for the last 3. The idea of wanting to be part of town council come about 3 years ago. I joined the Taber Municipal Police Commission. I sat on there for 2 years, and then in the 3rd year, I became the vice chair of that commission. In conclusion, growing up in Taber has given me so many opportunities and experiences. I believe these experiences can help Taber small businesses, help in affordable housing, and help in our youth. Because Taber's today, tomorrow, and future are our housing, our small businesses, and our youth. So thanks for coming. My name's Dan. Thank you.
Thank you. Kat, please.
All right, so good evening. My name is Kat Champagne, and first of all, I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for putting this event on, and for Anne and all her work for putting that together. I'd like to thank the attendees for coming out tonight, spending your Thursday night with us here, the other candidates on the panel, of course, and the Taber Times for the articles that they were able to share for everyone that isn't able to attend the forum tonight. I talk really fast, so I'm going to try to stay within the 3 minutes, but also make it so that you can hear me well. So my name is Catherine Champagne. Most people refer to me as Kat, and I've lived in Taber for about 10 years. Although that's less than some, I don't believe that longevity in the town is necessary to be successful in this role. I grew up in Lethbridge. I've lived in southern Alberta my whole life. I went to Lethbridge College, Athabasca University, and Mount Royal University. I worked for the government of Alberta for 13 years. After that, I made the jump to nonprofit, where I was the executive director of Safe Haven here in Taber for 5 years. After that, I moved over to my current role, which is the Director of External Relations at the YWCA in Lethbridge. My role at Safe Haven here truly allowed me to engage with the people in the town of Taber and the residents on a deeper level. In my time here, I've worked to give back my time to many local agencies, such as Taber Lost Paws, Taber Library Board, Taber Legion, TCAPS, TDH, Special Olympics, which covers Southern Alberta region, Safe Haven, obviously, Meals on Wheels, Alberta Cancer Society, Canadian Cancer Society, and have done Therapy Dog at some of the seniors residents here in Taber with my pug named Doug. I love going anywhere and running into a familiar face, finding time to support local initiatives, things that are going on around town. I believe that my work experience has prepared me for this spot on council, and that I believe that my senior leadership, management of people and organizations, collaboration, strategic planning, executive decision-making, and ability to make sound decisions while respecting and maintaining ethical boundaries has allowed me to have the confidence to do this role, as well as my ability to work roles that are always in the public eye. Question, why did I want to run? I want to make Taber a town of choice for Albertans. I love it here, and I think everyone else should too. We see so many people migrating to southern Alberta, choosing to live in Lethbridge and Coaldale, but why don't they want to live in Taber? Why don't they want to call Taber home? We need to change this. I believe my experience in various but similar fields will allow me to work with all members of council and our CAO to avoid catastrophe and avoid making uninformed decisions. As mentioned in my Times interview, we need councillors who can restore faith and trust in democracy, as well as provide the creativity required to build a town that works for us now and in the future. I've aligned my platform on 4 simple ideals: growth, community, safety, and action. I would certainly never claim to know everything about everything, but I am confident with certainty that I will do everything to ensure that I am prepared, well-versed, and ready to collaborate with the residents of Taber's, the other members of council, and our town to ensure success.
Thank you, Kat. Ian, if you can go next, please.
Hi, I'm Ian Croft. I was born and raised here in Taber. I've lived in this town my entire life, and I was just hoping to give back to the town when coming on council. Like, one of the main things that's driving me is to help others and to give back to the people who lived in this town and who have supported me. I've worked at the Taber Times. In that, I've met people in the communities. I've helped out by talking about charity events and other things going on in the town. And currently, I'm working within the museum to preserve the history of Taber, because knowing where we came from can help guide us to where we are going. Another main reason why I'm looking to join the council is because of how young I am. I feel like the council does need some new perspective from the youth, especially when I'm looking at issues that are directly affecting the youth, such as affordable housing. One of the things that I've noticed is all of the people that I've grown up with in this town, all of my friends, have moved out of the town into the cities. And I want to bring those youth back into the town to help support the town, help support the businesses, and ensure that this town can survive. And a method of doing that is affordable housing. So I hope to bring that, as well as many other issues, to the town council, and hopefully guide it forwards to ensure that this town can grow and prosper and be here for another 100 years or more. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Dale, please.
Hi, my name is Dale Tillman. First off, I want to thank the Chamber for hosting this event or organizing it. I also want to thank you people for showing up to listen to what we have to say. I also want to thank Rick and Ken for your volunteerism here. As far as, and I do want to wish best of luck to all the candidates. I've lived in Southern Alberta most of my life, and I've lived in Taber here for 35 years. I've worked as a teacher for 34 years. I even had Rick and Ken in my class years ago. So. The last 6 years, I've worked as the Alberta Amateur Baseball Council High Performance Coordinator, and I'm in charge of Team Alberta, and I'm proud to say at the last 2 Canada Summer Games and the Western Canada Games, we medaled at all 3. I've also worked 6 years as a part-time Major League Baseball scout, but my proudest thing, or my greatest experience, is being a dad. I have 2 wonderful daughters. My candidacy, what I hope to bring is be a good listener. I know I came up with some ideas as far as why I wanted to run, but when I talk to people, they're not the top for a lot of people. The roads and the sidewalks are. I also want to try to ensure that we have fairness to all parts of Taber. I do believe or do think that there is a bit of urban decay going on in parts of the area, and we need to rectify that the best we can. I do also, and I wasn't aware of this, but I did bump into some disabled people that have a tough time for access in the downtown area. We need to fix that. I do want to be open to new ideas. I do expect to, if I am fortunate enough to be elected, to research and try to go ahead and find alternatives that might be best for Taber. I am a little concerned the fact that it appears that we are maybe in camera too much in our sessions as far as meetings are concerned. I do want us to be accountable. One of the things, I guess, that has kind of bothered me, I don't think the town has been accountable for some of the stuff we've constructed. And I think we need to do a better job taking care of certain parts, and I'll relate to the parks and sport fields that I have been most interested in, but certainly people have brought to my attention to other parts of the town as well. And I am interested in affordable housing, but I do want to keep the work as much as I can within Taber. I guess the last thing I'd like to refer to, I think as a counselor, I would be a hard worker. I think all counselors do need to be that. I think there's a time where you need to roll up your sleeves, grab a shovel or grab a rake and be at the front. I do hope to go ahead, though, as well and try to work hard for the town crew, because if we're going to move things ahead, we need a town crew that has expertise and feels good about their work and their spot in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. Naomi, please.
Good evening. My name is Naomi Weeb. I would like to thank the Taber Chamber for organizing this event and Ken and Rick for moderating and timing. Thank you to former Councillor Alfred for his dedication to our community the last 2 years. I would guess that his decision to step down from this position was not an easy one. To my fellow candidates, thank you for your interest in helping to build our community and for all agreeing to participate tonight. To town residents, whether here or virtually, thank you for your interest in the forum and this by-election. A bit about myself. I was raised on a farm in the MD of Taber. Throughout my life, Taber has been my home. For a few years while I worked in the oil industry throughout Alberta and British Columbia, Taber remained my base. As a youth, I was active in many groups, most with an agricultural focus, such as horse and beef 4-H, Monday Night Riding Club, Sugartown Riding Club, gymnastics, and swimming. As a young adult, I helped my mom run the farm while simultaneously helping other farmers and working in a couple of different jobs, including a bank here in town. My educational background includes accounting and taxation and nonprofit management. My husband Pete and I have chosen to raise our 2 children here, and we've been fortunate to capitalize on the fantastic services provided by the Taber Library and Town of Taber Recreation Department. Taber has provided our family with a safe and enriching place to live. 3 generations of my family live in or near Taber. I will provide a voice for youth, seniors, and everyone in between. I have managed the Taber Food Bank for almost 6 years. My profession aligns with my belief that a great place to raise my family is a healthy community. Working alongside amazing staff and volunteers who strive every day to help our town, our team has strived to help build food security, particularly in these challenging economic times. Managing a nonprofit, there are daily challenges. I believe that volunteering is a great way to connect with residents and understand the needs of citizens. I'm currently a board member of the Taber Community Action and Prevention Society, also known as TCAPS, a leader with the Taber Corn Dogs 4-H Club, the treasurer of Taber and District 4-H, and a volunteer of the Vegetable Garden and Taber Food Bank events. In the past, I've also served on boards and committees with a focus on activities and growth for children, as well as learning and integration. While my family's time in Taber has been positive, I realize that our experiences are not the same as everyone in our community. I work every day with residents that are struggling to find a safe, affordable place to live, which is compounded by food insecurity and transportation barriers. I believe that Taber could benefit from new ideas, such as an outdoor multi-sport facility that serves all citizens, a youth advocacy group, community gardens, and that residents should have budget input. We should also work on creating housing stability, opportunities for our youth, and economic development to help make Taber a vibrant place for many generations. I would like to advocate for the needs of our citizens. It is not enough to simply want to change things or create a better policy. You need to be
If we
willing to
get you
work.
in there, Naomi, please. Thank you. Manny, go ahead, please. Manny.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mani Prahar, but my real name is Manjeet Prahar. I'm from India originally. I moved to Canada 2002, and I moved to Taber in December 2005. And I own the business. It used to call Taber Mini Mart, but I sold it like 5-6 years ago. And I have a cleaning company in the town, so we do cleaning in the schools. For my family, I have 2 kids, 2 daughters. One Isha and one is Japji, and I have a beautiful pet, Tommy. and I'm pet lover too. For me, when I moved to Canada, it is a totally different country for me. I learn lots from Canada, especially from Tabor. Whatever I get in my life, I get from the Tabor community. So I was thinking to give back to Tabor community with my knowledge, my business knowledge, and my education. I'm a Bachelor of Commerce in India, then I passed my Bachelor of Law degree. Then I did practice as a lawyer in India for a couple of years. So then suddenly I have to move to Canada because my wife, she was here. So my goal for the town of Tabor is I want to be more communication between council and the public. I think we need a better roads a little bit. I spoke to a few people. They said it takes a long time to repair the roads or the sidewalks. I'm a sportsman. I play professional soccer in back home India. So I love sports. So I want to be organized some kind of tournament on the summertime here with the help of the town of Tabor, so we can organize different sports from all over the province, like baseball, hockey, in the winter time, all kinds of sports. So this way we can generate revenue for the town too. I like the business. Business is the key of the economy. If we don't have a business in the towns, nobody can live here. So I feel like we need a more business in the town. And another stuff about this area is agriculture hub. And I like to see something related to agriculture, like even college or school, something just belongs to agriculture, nothing else. So our kids can learn from that. I love town, and I love town people. And most of the people, they are my friends now, they are my customers. I know lots of people by face, but I don't remember their names. But they know me as a Manny. So thank you for having me here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Manny. And number 7, Mike, please.
Thank you. Good evening, all. Can you hear? Oh, here we go. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you to everybody organizing. And I'll give you a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Calgary. I've been coming here my whole life to spend as much time as I could on my grandparents' farm. So I'm new to here, but I'm not when I first got here. My maternal grandparents also ran an old grocery store, the Red and White. For some of the old folks here in town might remember the Red and White. So both my grandparents come from Tabor. I came here in the spring of 1980 out of college to get a summer job, met a girl, haven't left. So that was many years ago. We raised 3 kids. We now have 6 grandkids. I got involved right away, started coaching and whatnot, coached minor sports, hockey, baseball, past president of the Tabor Oilmans, past president of the Golden Suns Athletic Association, AA program in hockey, current league liaison there. I planned to run for council back in 17, had a little bout with the Big C, went a couple rounds there and won. So last election I ran, and this by-election come up, so I thought I'd take the opportunity. It's not gonna make any real pie-in-the-sky promises, you're only one person on council, but I'd say I'd like to work and ensure that our tax dollars are treated with respect, work collaboratively to kind of lessen our red tape so we can get industry and businesses to get going. They're the ones that create the jobs. They will raise our tax revenues and whatnot. So we, or those of us, or those that work for the town, we've got to remember that they work for the taxpayer and that we need to respect the dollars. I'd like to see a little less government intrusion in our lives, and that's from all levels, from federal all the way down. So that's kind of a way to start here. In closing, we just need to be diligent in our spending, Green space is a big part for me. Our infrastructure, people have commented here already on sidewalks and roads and whatnot. Just kind of streamline things, and listening to the taxpayers, what I would really be prone to do for sure. I'd like to represent you, the citizens. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mike, and thanks to all of you for your opening remarks. We appreciate that. Sorry, Naomi, for having to cut you off. I think for all of us, you now, if you ever want to get a senior's discount, you just have to say you remember the red and white, and that should be value enough to be able to get you that discount. Okay, we are going to move into some general questions that we have, and we're going to start right away with a couple real difficult ones. I do see that almost all of the current council are here in attendance, and so that may make this even a little more fun or hard, or however you want to look at it. So the first general question, and we'll be starting with candidate number 2, which is Kat, and rotating through. The first question is, what are some recent decisions or direction taken by the current mayor and council that you agree with and support? What are some recent decisions or direction taken by the current mayor and council that you agree with and support? Kat, please, you'll each have 2 minutes. And again, the yellow light will come on at 1 minute and 30 seconds.
I don't have any specific recent decisions, in all honesty. I believe that there are some initiatives that have started in the town of Taber that have come from council. I believe that there are pieces that can be expanded on. I believe that there's things that council has been working on for some time. I think that they have a good pulse on what's going on. I think that their ability to evaluate all sides in all situations and their ability to bring their insight is great, but I don't have any specifics, in all honesty.
Okay, thank you. Ian, same question.
I more have like some general things. I really appreciate the initiative that they have started with the affordable housing, as well as other initiatives such as the wetlands projects, basically building stuff out in the community where we can go out and hike and appreciate sort of the natural beauty of the community, those sort of things.
Awesome, thank you, Ian. Dale, please.
Well, when I visit people, they're pretty enthused, and I think they've done a good job with the trout pond and the walkway. I think that's been real positive. I think also the fact is that you've gone ahead and built stuff at times, which has been good, and I think that. And I also think, you've had more activities going on in Confederation Park, which are to be commended on. And so those are certainly some good things that I think you've initiated. And of course, the Corn Fest, everybody's fired up about that. You visit with people, you've done a great job with that. I think you all should take bow for that. I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Dale. And just a reminder to all candidates just to try and get close to your mic if you can, please. Naomi, please.
At the August 21st council meeting, council approved to move the vegetable garden into a space by Trout Pond. So this is a garden that is going to be able to provide food not only for those in our community who are struggling with food insecurity, it's also going to help those with food insecurity across the province. Some of that produce that's currently being received from the garden, this is the last year in its location, has been sent all across the province up to Airdrie, Okotoks, through Lethbridge, and of course has been used in our community. It's been used at our food bank by Safe Haven. The library helps share some of it. We give to some of the schools sometimes and the daycare center.
Thank you. Manny, please.
I just think more about the money, how they spend the money in the towns, like the budgets. I go through 5 budgets from 2017. They have all the time year around. They have the same budget. There's nothing more important in there for the community. What they want to do, add some more or less. Less spending. If they have $30 million budget and the revenue generate only 25 million. So $5 million is always yearly deficit for the town of people. So that is my biggest concern, the need to pay more attention for the budgets, I think.
Thank you. Mike?
Yeah, I would comment on the trout pond. I think they're doing a fabulous job there. The upgrades out there, it's used a pile. Our daughter and her family live close to that, so we walk there a lot. And then the Trail 77, that was good money spent. It's well used as well. So those are two for sure.
Thank you, Mike. Dan?
Recently, Tabor Housing asked for an expansion on Clearview, and the council looked at, they approved that they would, as long as the MD put money in and Barnwell put money in the village. So, I'm supporting that. I think it's 44 more units. They supported the Tabor Municipal Police Commission budget in the last little bit, and some changes we've had with, commissioners being appointed by the province. I like that they commended the guy that found the diamond ring in the golf cart. I was, hopefully they find who lost it. They just did a great signage deal for Tabor Minor Hockey, keeping it at a low rate so the kids can keep the registrations down. I did feel bad for the guy that left his sprinklers on, that they said he had to pay the bill, but that's just me. Thanks.
Okay, thank you to everyone for that first question. Our second general question, and we'll start with Ian on this one. This, and some of you addressed this a little bit, and I would prelude this with what your opinion is, and not necessarily what you've heard from other people leading up to this. So the question is this: what do you feel are the two biggest needs, concerns, or gaps currently in the town of Tabor? What do you feel are the two biggest needs, concerns, or gaps currently in the town of Tabor? Remembering 2 minutes. Ian, please.
I think the first biggest need is affordable housing. One of the things that we're seeing, again, across everywhere is a stagnation in wages and just the skyrocketing prices of houses. And if we are able to address that and get more people into the community, we will have more people in our businesses, more tax revenue, and more stuff like that to make sure that our community can continue to grow. I think another big need in the community is making sure that our green spaces and infrastructure are nice, well preserved, and well used.
Okay, thank you, Ian. Dale, please.
Well, certainly when I visit with people, it's the roads. There's more concern about roads and patching and wanting new roads built. So that has to be the number one thing from that. And that wasn't mine initially when I started, but that's number one. I am concerned about affordable housing. I think we need to do more of that. I do think, though, there are grants available, and I didn't hear anything from a council meeting in regards to that. If some of you want to Google in affordable housing grants in Alberta, you'll see that a third of the cost. If we take, for example, if we took say there's a house that's kind of got a worried look that nobody's been living in for a year or something, and the people want to get rid of it. A third of the cost, as far as demolition is concerned, purchasing it, even the architectural work, any kind of restructuring, or as far as the utilities are concerned, or even the landscaping, will be paid. And I think that makes good sense to kind of spend our money in those spots, certainly as far as urban renewal is concerned, than going ahead and what was entertained at one time, the modular homes. I'm done.
Thank you. Naomi, please.
Our community is lacking safe, affordable housing for some of our residents. We have small groups of miniature communities within our town that are struggling to meet the basic necessities. My understanding about the Meadows was that it was designed to be affordable housing. However, the base price for a lot and home to put on it is simply out of the reach for most people who are low income. Having it in the location it is means that those who have transportation barriers will have difficulty accessing businesses and services in town, as it is a formidable distance to have to walk or bike. I would like to have seen the opportunity for more input from low-income residents or organizations that serve them before proceeding with the project. The Meadows have been in the works since 2017, and my understanding from the last council meeting on August 21st was that so far only 2 of them are sold. My other would be activities for youth and teen that is not sports. We have lots of sports in our community, and that's excellent for teens. But we have teens who aren't interested in those things. We're lacking in things like drama and art for our teens.
Thank you. Naomi. Manny, please.
My biggest concern is like housing, affordable housing in the town. since from last year, the town accept one program is called RNIP programs. They know if we accept this program, so lots of people can move to this town because they just want to become a permanent immigrants for the Canada, and they have an opportunity to move this town, and they have some benefits too, right? So my biggest thing is affordable housing in this town.
Thank you. Mike?
Yeah, the housing is one thing that is brought up often, and it seems to me in discussion with people, whether it's affordable housing or just people building houses, permitting seems to be one of the big challenges that keeps getting in the way of progress, I guess. You know, I don't know a whole bunch about it, but that is one of the biggest complaints I hear. Using existing infrastructure, buildings and whatnot, we need to utilize our vacancies, and it seems that development out north there wasn't a great use of our tax dollars, like for where it's situated and what its design was. So that's that.
Thank you, Mike. Daniel?
Hello. Okay. As a small business owner, right? You know, affordable housing helps. You know, staff shortages. So, you know, I mentioned that, you know, there was talk of expansion of the Clearview Lodge. You know, that's for people that are over 65. I know Taber District Housing has looked at things like this Cherry in Maine, which would be more of a downtown housing. You know, it's about 30 units. It would help, you know, I know the Meadows is a little farther away, but something more downtown would also help. And in that Cherry in Maine, they talk about, you know, putting a community theater. You know, I come off as the president of Taber Minor Hockey. You'd think I would be wanting to push rinks and stuff like that. In the 9 years I've been there, we've not been short ice. So other activities, theater, arts, I think are a big need. So, you know, affordable housing downtown is going to solve a housing problem and going to solve some shortages for work, you know, for our local businesses. Because, you know, our local businesses provide local services, which give us a thriving community. So they kind of go hand in hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. And we'll finish this question with Kat, please.
Good. So I think that the biggest concern or gap that we're missing here is the draw. So everyone's coming to Southern Alberta, they're coming for work, they're coming for school, they're coming for jobs, they're coming for their families, but everyone's going to Lethbridge, everyone's going to Coaldale, everyone's moving from southern BC even into our area because it's a little bit cheaper to live. But what are we doing to draw people to Taber? Right now, I mean, the majority of you probably spend time when you're like, gotta go to Lethbridge to do something. Wouldn't it be lovely if it was the other way around, where people from Lethbridge are coming to Taber on a regular basis for the services and the things that we offer here? That leads to me as the second most important gap right now would be housing. Not so much affordable housing, but an adequate housing supply. So we need to work on the upkeeping of the current seniors residents that we have, finding places for single seniors that are over 55. There is such a small, limited pool for that in Taber. We need to do this so that we can draw new workers with affordable, you know, smaller units. We also need to look towards low-income families. We need to look for families that have lots of children, because the housing supply for that is really low too, as well as young adults. We need to make sure that people that are here are able to live, they're able to live comfortably, and that they're able to be housed.
Thank you. All great answers to that question. Thank you. The next question is actually, some of you have touched on it a little bit, but I will still go ahead. And if it is a bit of a duplication, then again, you can just reiterate of anything that you've said. So Dale will be the first one to start on this question. So this question reads, twinning of Highway 3 and expansion of the irrigation acres will soon be happening in the area. What can be done to attract new agriculture businesses to the town, or any other businesses in general? So twinning of Highway 3 and expansion of the irrigation acres will soon be happening in the area. What can be done to attract new agricultural businesses to the town, or any businesses in general? Dale, please.
Well, first off, as far as new businesses are concerned, I think you have to work with hand in hand a little bit with the MD to get it to happen, because there is sometimes a water issue. I think the best thing is reasonable taxes. I think if you have an educated workforce. That's helpful too. I think you have to provide a good community, and people will be more inclined to go ahead and be attracted to here. I am real disappointed that the two potato plants, McCain and Cavendish, didn't occur in the MD of Taber and somewhere close to Taber. So whatever lessons can be learned from that, we should employ to ensure that the next opportunities we have. And the twinning the highways will help, but I think it's more what you do in Taber as opposed to the highways being twinned. Sorry.
Thank you, Dale. Naomi?
I agree with Dale that we need to work with the MD counselors to try and figure out a solution. The best way to bring more business into town is to make sure that we're economically stable.
Manny, please.
I like to add about if we have some kind of food processing small plant, not too big ones, we can do not only potatoes or some, we have lots of other things here like chickpeas or something, pre-packaging and selling to just from the town to other, we can take advantage from that highway like that.
Okay. Thank you. Mike?
Yeah, the twinning, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to affect the town. We can't foresee that, but we need to be able to entice businesses to come into town. And one of the things we have to do, and I'm repeating myself here, is we got to streamline. We got to make it easier for businesses to thrive here, to get started. They create the jobs, and the permitting is the one thing that keeps coming up that I hear. So that's just one. And of course, the same with the affordable housing. Developers, private industry should be doing these things, and permitting and allowing them to get going is what creates those things to happen.
Thank you. Daniel?
First things first, I'm glad the twinning went through Taber and didn't go around. So if council, had anything to do with that, that's greatly appreciated. I think that would have been it would have put us behind. Regarding more, agriculture, irrigated acres, we're got a lot of big farms, and they're using a lot of migrant workers. They need staff. I have a son, he's 15. He was in a roving crew, I know. So they use a lot of youth. So, affordable housing, staff shortages go hand in hand. We right now, we only got 33 units if you're under the age of 65. I see, farmers are, buying houses in town to house people. We've just got to look at, council and future council, expanding our community to keep them them farmers able to have local workers, able to have them here. We're not, bringing them in from farther and farther away. So.
Thank you. Kat?
I think we need to do a better job of advocating for ourselves. I'd agree with Dale, saying that pushing forward what a great tax rates that we have here in town are, how low they are, that's definitely appealing to people that are wanting to come here. I think another important thing is to talk about how safe we are. This is a very safe community compared to many other local communities in southern Alberta. Another piece would be to share the successes of our current businesses and current agricultural businesses. Who's doing really well, and what can we show them, and what can we offer them? Additionally, I think that as part of my platform, I talked about community collaboration with other places. So as part of this twinning, who else can we collaborate that is along Highway 3, that possibly has things that we can offer? Can we work together? Can we have joint initiatives that make people want to travel back and forth along that corridor? I think we also need to, like Danny said, have more affordable and sufficient houses, because if we want to have people here, we need to have places to house them.
Thank you. And Ian, please.
Again, with what some of the other candidates said, we need to work with the MD to make sure that we are both working towards something that we can achieve with our current tax base and that could benefit both parties. And it is a case of we need to ensure that we have the housing so that we do have the workforce to attract those businesses, so they don't have to worry about ensuring they have enough people to work at them, to ensure that they have the workforce here so they can come here and stay here.
Thank you. I'm going to now at this point actually leave some of the general questions. We'll come back to them if we need them to fill time at the end, but I do want to make sure we're getting to some of the submitted questions, some of the questions that were submitted online or through email to the chamber. So we'll go ahead and maybe do some of those now. And this one, I think I want to ask first, just simply because we've heard a lot of this from, I think, all of you. And this person that submitted this question agrees and feels like the number one issue in Taber right now is affordable housing. So their question is asking each of you, and we'll start with Naomi, is what experience, if any, do you have around working with affordable housing? What experience do you have in working around or dealing with affordable housing? Naomi, please.
So I don't have any experience with affordable housing per se, but I do work with clientele every day who need affordable housing. I hear stories of houseless people. I hear stories of people who are couch surfing. There's a lot of people in our community that may not be aware of those who are struggling. So I am willing to learn whatever I need to help those in our community.
Thank you. Manny?
I just digged out some things, in the town. We have a 2,909 houses, and we have a 213 apartments, and total business is 250. And for low housing owned by Town of Taber, I think they have 15 or 16. That's all they have it. I think we need a more housing from the Town of Taber develop, Like the Meadow project over there, just beside the cemetery, right? It is nothing going on there. Just only 4 or 5 houses there since from they started. That is big chunk of money stuck over there, just the Town of Taber money. So I feel like town should do something more about that.
Okay, thank you. Mike, please.
Well, experience affordable housing, building or getting people into affordable housing, those are the questions. One of the things I did as a youngster is build, so really I have no experience in affordable housing. But making them easy to build, getting the red tape out of the way, those that contract to build need to be able to do them in a timely manner and a cost-efficient manner, which will equate to affordable housing. If it costs a lot of money to build, it's hard to give up, and not make any money as a developer. So, and like Dale said, there is money out there that can help the process.
Thank you. Daniel?
Owning the Royal Hotel here, I have 10 units, so I deal with lots of people that, so it's pretty much affordable housing. In Lethbridge, I was part of me and my father and Todd Pickerel have a building, and we worked with Canadian Mortgage and Housing Credit, turning that building into affordable low-cost housing. So, they give us a grant, and then we worked with them, and we worked with Venture Holdings here, and built the building. Now, we did it privately. It wasn't City of Lethbridge wasn't involved. So some of the downsides of that, it's only 15 years. We have to be affordable, right? So doing that here in Taber and having private business do it, it's not long term, right? The upside of it is it's not town money. So, I know the expense of it, and that was a building that was already a building and converted. So to build something new here and it being done private, I know it'll be expensive. It'll be tough. If we do it, municipally through the council and through the town, it'll be expensive. Brooks in 2007 did 87 units, and they got $9 million from, the third thing program. I mean, that's a long time ago. So that's going up. So, my experience in the private side, shows me how expensive it is. But I know mortgage housing, they're good. They work. It works. We got 28 units there. I do believe my Lethbridge clientele downtown, compared to my Taber clientele, we've got a good workforce. I rarely get a vacancy. In Lethbridge, I get vacancies. So we have a great community here. So we do have an opportunity to use that community either privately or publicly.
Thank you. Kat?
Quite a bit, actually. So I was the executive director of Safe Haven here in Taber, which is the women's emergency shelter. It's a 21-bed shelter, but very very in line with affordable housing. We collaborated with a lot of local agencies to do with housing as far as placing people, moving them out of our outreach program, getting them into sustainable housing here in Taber. I've also been involved with the Rural Development Network, which involves us having a program where we developed a grant program to provide rent, to provide deposits, to provide money for damage repairs, as well as to pay utilities to help support affordable housing. I was also the municipal housing specialist for the city of Lethbridge, a position that I held for over a year as a term position. In that role, I created the Affordable and Social Housing Capital Grant, which allowed small agencies that were looking to build affordable housing the capital dollars to start, as well as the startup costs that they could apply for. I managed that grant, and I also worked with all of the agencies that were successful in that grant to make sure that their policies followed through, and that they were able to develop all of their projects to fulfillment. Additionally, in my work right now, I work at the YWCA in Lethbridge as the Director of External Relations. Most of my job is about media and government, speaking to MLAs, speaking to MPs, speaking on behalf of many agencies to advocate for affordable housing. What does that look like in each community? Additionally, I believe that my experience with that and my experience with our current operations at the YWCA being a shelter as well as a permanent supportive housing facility allow me to have a full rounded view on affordable housing, what it looks like, and what it needs.
Thank you. Ian, please.
I haven't directly worked in anything involving affordable housing, but I do know that affordable housing is a necessary first step, and some of the other things that we do need to take into mind with that is introducing some form of public transportation. With the Meadow projects being so far away, it's the case that a lot of people, they either have the money to purchase a house or money to purchase a vehicle. And if you purchase a house, you need a method to get into the town and to move around the town. So I feel like if we have the first step of affordable housing done, we can move on to other stuff such as public transportation to ensure that people can still be financially stable to own that house.
Thank you. And Dale, please.
Well, the closest I've come to this, I guess, probably was this past summer, and I told two guys they could sleep in the dugout at the baseball field. But anyways, I do have a little bit of, and I've mentioned this before, the fact that I would like to see some of the homes that we have in town renovated into probably a duplex of some type. I'm referring a little bit to my daughter lives in the Hillhurst area in Calgary, and some of that area was flooded. And they've taken some of those single lots and they've made it into what I would call at least somewhat attractive, but they are duplexes there, and they're 4-level and they look fine. My concern, and some of you guys have mentioned about doing this for housing, doing that for housing, and building this. I know I lived with, I'm U.S. college educated, and I played with a couple of black kids, and they lived in areas called the projects, and they didn't like that. There's a stigma attached to that. That's why I think we're much better off to try to go ahead and get some single homes that need, or I refer to as a worried look, that nobody's lived in and try to renovate them into something, because I really don't want them all stacked in one area. Because I think that, for the kids and for the parents, often it's kind of a bad reference. So I'd like to try to do something like that, but the dugouts are as close as I've really been as far as.
Thank you, Dale. Okay, our next submitted question, and Manny, we will get you to start first on this, please. And the question reads, what ways have you personally supported local in the community? What ways have you personally supported local in the community? Manny, please.
I would like to donate to my different, I like to donate more money to my community so they can use as they wanted, And I like to volunteer with the sports, whatever I know. That's my main things.
Thank you. Mike?
Sounds cliche, but I shop local. I really do try and make sure that we spend our dollars here. Sometimes you have to move, up the road to buy something, but we really do work at spending our money here. Through my wife's career, we've clothed and fed a lot of people, and that were, perhaps lacking a little bit. So those are things just to make our people in the schools and around us better.
Thank you. Daniel?
Repeat the question again.
Yeah, the question is, what ways have you personally supported local in the community?
So yeah, I could talk about the Taber Police Commission. I could talk about minor hockey. I could talk about a tattoo on my body that celebrates me coaching some kids. One of the moms is here. But the one thing I have, in grade 5, kids do a resiliency letter. And a fellow by the name of Zach Fair entered one, and I guess it won, and I got to be invited down to the resiliency, and he read it to me. And what I got out of that is that my contribution into town showed, a kid that I just kind of knew, when I coaching here an hour there, that my experience of adults and youth can turn these kids into great members of our society. So, yeah, that was a pretty neat thing.
Thank you. Kat?
So some of the ways that I believe that I support local is through shopping, a lot of shopping, coffee, a lot of coffee. I attend events. I have used local companies both personally and professionally, making sure that we're getting quotes from them as well to ensure that that business stays local here in Taber. I've worked locally. I promote everything I can possibly can on social media, through social media. If anyone is doing something, I'm going to share it with everyone. I support small businesses by volunteering for many local organizations that are trying to raise money, support local kids that are trying to raise things for fundraisers. There isn't much that I won't buy from that, but I think just making sure that I'm continually telling people outside of Taber about the businesses that are in Taber, especially ones that maybe they don't have in other locations that would be excellent for them to visit or spend their time in, and just continuing that advocacy.
Thank you. Ian?
The main way that I've sort of helped support local is, of course, shopping with everything, but also through my work at the Taber Times. I was the one who recreated their Facebook page to ensure that we still had a presence online. I was ensuring that local coverage happened. I was the one who spearheaded all those interviews with the library so people knew about events that were happening here. I was also the one who made sure that the newest event that was happening here in Taber from the town, the Wonders of Wizardry, got its proper recognized within the paper, and I made sure that went into other papers as well. And then also was the case of just working with the museum, making sure that the legacy of Taber is preserved.
Great. Thank you. Dale, please.
Well, as I guess donated or volunteer, presently I'm a ballpark volunteer at Ken McDonald. In the past, I've sold trees for the Lions Club. I've been on the Wham Volleyball Club executive. I was Pat Pines, one of his helpers there, and I do try to shop local.
Thank you. Naomi?
So I feel like this is a broad question. Does it mean purchasing local or volunteering? So I'll try and answer all of them a little bit. As the manager of the Taber Food Bank, we purchase all of our groceries locally from our local co-op and IGA stores. I also shop at our local grocery stores personally, and when our family budget allows, we eat at local restaurants. As have stated, I volunteer and participate in many local organizations. On Tuesday night, I was out at the vegetable garden helping to pick produce that's going to be shared locally in our community to help anyone who needs it. I also have started a couple of Facebook groups to help build community. I started the Taber and Area Events page to try and help share information around about what's happening in our community, things that you can do, ways you can meet other people, and the Taber Rocks page, which is for kids, mostly kids, that can go and they paint rocks and then they hide them in the community so someone else can find them and they share that in the group and then they hide it again. So it's a fun little project.
Okay. Thank you. Let's move on to the last question, where each will have an opportunity to be first. Then I'll pull this question. It's not the last question we have, but I'll pull this question as well from submitted questions. It says this: we as business owners are struggling to hire staff, not only here in Taber, but in the province. It would seem that people no longer want to work, especially jobs that are less attractive. What, if anything, can a town council or a municipal government do to help this situation? Mike, we're going to start with you. Mike,
Well,
please.
thanks for that. I couldn't even begin to tell, as I don't own a business, and I feel for those that are trying to get workers. It's perplexing that you look how many people say, I can't find a job, but there's jobs out there. So, that's a real tough one. if somebody can come up with that, there'd be a lot of happy business owners, I think. You know, it's really hard.
Thank you. Daniel?
You know, I guess town council can support, you know, bigger job fairs, you know, showing what our community has. You know, we could have more housing. You know, my son is in school and he's doing a work experience. You know, maybe the council can lean in with the schools to, you know, get our youth at that young, you know, at that age, high school age, you know, learning what businesses here need and what opportunities there are in town. You know, relying on our youth and educating them in what's going on and who needs help.
Kat?
So one way that we could do that is through the continued use of the immigration program that we have now, which helps rural communities fill job shortages by recruiting newcomers to participate in those programs. We want people to settle permanently here. We want them not to just come temporarily. So the Alberta Advantage Immigration Program is a perfect example of how we can do that and how we can collaborate to do that. Some other things that we can do that I've touched on already are just to continue to talk about all the excellent things that we have here, and as council continue to keep our taxes reasonable, continue to support local initiatives that will bring in other workers, possibly work towards transportation barrier. I know that's a big one. There's a lot of surrounding communities that people would probably want to come and work in Taber, but being rural and that lack of transportation, that's a huge piece. Since we lost the Highway 3 back and forth bus, we've lost a lot of ability to get around southern Alberta. So I think doing things like that, continue those shared work programs, and just focusing on supporting the businesses that we do have here when they are having these struggles like this, I think that that's important.
Thank you. Ian?
Sort of two ways I can see that helps us out. The first one would be for more housing. More housing means more people, which means more people looking for jobs, which means more jobs are filled. The other thing is to support programs such as the youth employment program, which helps educate youth into entering the job market and actually at the end of the program puts them into a job within the community, as well as other programs such was mentioned as the immigration program, and as well as, again, just public transportation. It could be an issue that you don't have a car and you can't quite walk halfway across the town to get to a job. So if there's public transportation within local, that could help with that, as well as transportation between here and Lethbridge.
Thank you. Dale?
Well, I think it's pretty unique to each situation. I don't think there's one blanket we can throw at it, so there's no one answer. I think in some cases, as far as business people is concerned, it might be a good idea to have some sort of a workshop. What is a good employer? How do they act like to their workers? You know, what things can they do to retain workers? I think also, of course, education as far as the workers are concerned. In some cases, they don't have the skills. So, you know, if we can help with that, that certainly would be. I think sometimes you just talk to the workers and get an idea from them as what they're perceiving as to, you know, what they need or anything like that. But I do think sometimes, you know, employers should take a look at, you know, how they conduct business and what they might do to make their workers feel a little happier and a little better about the workspace.
Thank you. Naomi?
I feel that this ties a little bit into a provincial area. The minimum wage right now is at $15 per hour. When I was at our local Food Banks Canada conference, well, not local, but when I was at our Food Banks Canada conference that was up in Edmonton at the end of June, they indicated that a livable wage is over $21 per hour. So if you're offering $15 an hour and livable wages at $20, that's a huge gap per hour. Council could help to promote local programs such as the YEP program that was already offered. There is a hiring fair on September 7th that the council could help with. Taber Adult Learning has a lot of different programs that you can help with. You can get resume building, and different businesses can go in and promote what they have available as jobs. And as already mentioned, the immigration program through the town. And this is something that, again, we have to go back to transportation barriers. There's multiple groups working on trying to figure this out. Maybe council can help step into that and see if there's a way that we can help solve some of those.
Thank you. Manny?
Yeah, we have lots of jobs in town. The biggest reason is still housing. Where I can find a job here, but where I should live, I have to go back to the Lethbridge or the Coaldale or somewhere else. This is a big thing for as a business owner, I know. Plus other thing, since from the COVID start, the federal government, they pay lots of money to the people. And I think they are used to now for the free money. they don't want to, most of the people, I think, they don't want to work because the government support them. Every 2 weeks, they get $1,500, $2,000 check. You make the same amount, you go to work for 40 hours a week. So they're trying to they're trying to work for 6 months. They want to go for EI, and they get the money, and they're good for 1 year. So this is a big issue for, as a business owner, we have it. Even if you have a job here and people, oh, I don't want to work for the cleaning, right? Most of the time you can hear, right? And I think they're psychologically they're set up like that. So this big thing for.
Okay. Thank you again, everyone, on that question. What we'd like to do now, we were just after 8 o'clock, and we are scheduled to try and finish just before 9 o'clock, so we're a little bit more than halfway through. We do want to open up the floor to you who have attended. Hopefully you've come here with some bravery in your being to be able to come up to the mic and ask a question. How this phase will work, if you do want to come up and ask a question, again, you will have 1 minute maximum time to ask your question. You can, if you wish, direct that question at a candidate directly. You do not have to. You can answer it, or you can ask it to all candidates, but you can ask to one specific candidate if you wish. That candidate will then have 2 minutes, just like these questions, will have 2 minutes to answer. But even though you ask that candidate, a candidate directly, the other candidates will also be able to have an opportunity to answer your question, but they will only be given a minute and a half. If they so choose, they do not have to answer, but if they so choose to also be able to give their opinion or their answer to your question, they'll be allowed to do that. So again, 1 minute to your question. So please, let's hear your questions, and we'll give you that opportunity to come up now, and you can just line up at the mic all the way out the door if we need. Just also, I forgot, if you can just state your name, and then if you are asking a specific candidate to just voice that, please. Okay, just in case everyone didn't hear that, because the mic was a little quiet right there. So Tamara's asking, as a MD councillor, what, as a town councillor, what these candidates could do to make sure that relationship between the MD and the town is there. And there's another part. Improve economic development between the two areas. Okay, thank you. We will, and that was a general question. Tam, it was a general question to all candidates? Okay. We'll go back to Daniel as being number one then again, please.
Okay, as part of the Taber Municipal Police Commission, I was involved in the MD and the Taber Police Service, and really the town and council worked a deal together to provide some policing within the MD, right? And being part of that, to the meetings now, MD councilors have come. So I have made sure I've come up, introduced myself, talked to them, just try to keep a good relationship between, just the board I'm on, being the police commission, and the MD councilors that are coming there. So a good personal relationship, and I've already started to try to work one just in that. To help economic development, I'm not sure how many, if there is, where Council of MD and Council of Taber meet up and get together. Obviously I would be a big support of that. If it's formal or informal, just communication. I know in the past, I think there had been some adversity and some, and it's just, that's not what you want. I imagine everybody here and everybody that's on current council is here to benefit the community, and that community boundaries don't stop, as you drive into the MD. Lots of people are here probably from the MD. I know they can't vote for any of us, but, just a good relationship, work together. I believe the police commission and the Taber Police Service in the town, it's going well. I haven't heard anything negative. So just constant communication.
Thank you. Kat?
So I believe that some of the ways that we could do that is through community collaboration. So I mentioned that earlier. Just how can we lean on each other? What do other communities in the MD or what do smaller places in the MD offer that Taber doesn't have, and vice versa? How can we pull those all together? How can we use the best resources from everyone all at the same time? I'd like to see if we could look into possibly a lack of duplication of services. That's a huge problem that happens everywhere. Are we both doing the same thing that we could maybe do better together, or one of us could do better than the other and be fully supported from the other? I think that integrates both councils working together and both areas working together. We can also use MD and town resources jointly and collectively. That can be anything from people to spaces to things to events. As long as we can work together, we can make sure that we get the message out to both areas. I think there's some other pieces as far as economic growth. We're talking about the Highway 3 twinning, that's expanding. All of these expansion pieces, we need the MD to do that. We can't do that solely in Taber. We need to rely on our outside communities for that as well. We need to continue to encourage and promote each other. And I'll just kind of talk on what Dan had mentioned too. It's a great new initiative that TPS is doing to include the MD as part of their policing. You look at what happened in Lethbridge when they expanded to have Coaldale, took over Coaldale Police, expanded that, kind of collectively put them together. And a lot of people will put Coaldale and Lethbridge together as one big collective group now. So I think the more things where we can have the same standards in the MD as we do in the town and vice versa, that will allow us to be on the same level.
Thank you. Ian?
Well, I think the first and biggest part is just ensuring that the lines of communication between the town and the MD are there and that they are strong, to ensure that whenever the town talks about an economic project, that if it could potentially benefit from reaching out to the MD, that you do that immediately, as well as sort of relying on each other and using what both sides have to help out each other, such as, again, with the town spearheading sort of affordable housing and making sure more people can live here, that's a way that they could help the MD, since there could be more jobs and more stuff to help out other farmers out in the MD. The town is helping them by supplying the housing, as well as other services such as grocery shopping and businesses.
Thank you. Dale?
Grab Bob Bianaga's credit card, go up and tell him a couple times. More than once. Anyways, I think you need to meet more often. Certainly if there's a limited communication, and you probably would see the town councilors a lot more often than, say, a councilor from Hayes or Enchant or anything like that. So certainly that's something, and maybe it needs to be scheduled more often than what it is. I don't know. I do know that one person, I think, was mentioned down here. The relations are better, I believe, today than what they were a few years ago. And I do think there has to be some give and take, and I guess probably sometimes there probably will be a win-win situation, but I think, probably communication is the biggest thing. And somebody mentioned here duplicate, and if there is any cases of duplication, probably you try to work that out so there isn't, because that's costing both groups money. I'm done.
Thank you. Naomi?
So I grew up in the MD and personally know some of the councillors. I feel like we could probably work quite well together. I think an important piece would be working alongside councillors in the community, the MD councillors in the community at different volunteer projects. We need to work together and expand our agricultural corridor, and I agree with the duplication of services, making sure that we're not doubling up on anything.
Thank you. Manny?
I think the communication is the key of the success for both community, like town of Taber and MD. I think they should discuss their economics policy each other, what they want to do in the future, rather than just right away you can discuss, They should have had for 6 months or something like that. And they should do monthly meetings so they can discuss their own ideas, what they got from the government, what the town get from the government, how we can develop more of our area. So I think communication is most important. I think so.
Thank you. And Mike?
And I'll just reiterate, communication, constant and robust communication, and that is something that works.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Tamara, for breaking the ice with that first question. If we can move to another question, please, come forward. You're already a councillor. Thank you. Kat, if we can get you to go first. And again, just the question is infrastructure and roads. We've heard a lot of that tonight in the opening, and so the question is how we can find that improvement. Kat, go ahead.
Maybe, oh, sorry. I think that one of the biggest things that we could do is open houses to talk to the citizens that live in Taber. We all know which roads are bad. We know which ones go like this. We know which ones have giant potholes. We know which ones to avoid in the winter. But there's areas, and we talk about, not excluding certain areas of being more accessible to things like good roads, proper lighting, access to services. So I think starting out with a town hall where you can have people come in and say like what would they like to see, and then of course we need to be fiscally responsible about it. Look at what is that going to cost us? What is the long-term effect? It's great to put in new roads all the time, but they will eventually break down as well. So we'll have to pay for them again. So I think the biggest thing is just taking a look at what are our most common areas, where do we need to put the most money into, what's that going to cost us, what's our ROI on that, and ultimately what's the long-term breakdown and what is the cost going to be over the next 25 to 30 years.
Thank you, Kat. Ian?
I agree with some of the points that previous candidate brought up. It's a case of we need to figure out and prioritize what are the biggest areas and tackle that first, and then move on to other areas, as well as ensuring that it is in the budget, ensuring that we have enough tax coming in that we can keep those roads up to make sure that people can move throughout the town.
Thank you. Dale?
My road first. I think, if you drive around, you'll see roads of various condition, and there are some where we could probably patch up and most people would be happy. There's other ones that we'd probably dig up from one block to the other. I know, and I think, I don't think it's a bad idea if you want to put a button on the website or something like that where people could give their input as to that, but I think ultimately, I guess the town engineers, the town managers have to take a look at it and see which ones are the worst. But there are some, I think, that you would probably we'd be better off like 55th on the south side on that one there that goes, I guess it'd be on the far east side. That one there probably should be taken out entirely and redone. That's like driving through a couple ditches out in the old Hayes farm. I'm done.
Naomi?
I think that this is important with open communication. If you are a councillor out in your community and you know what is happening in your community, then you can be able to bring that back to council. We do have to be aware of the budget and make sure that we're budgeting properly, but this is also something that we have town staff that this is what they're paid for. This is their expertise. So we do need to make sure that they are being they're being given an opportunity and given the information that they can go ahead and do the work that's needed.
Manny, please.
I think for me is if we manipulate budget little bit, if we change some stuff in the budget, I think we have some money there to build our sidewalks and road, and it is not like a big deal for the town. It should be priority, because people walking on the streets and the roads, all the time. And as a Chamber of Commerce, they should organize some more economic events in the town. We have only, I think, one is the Taber Corn Fest, the biggest one we're doing, right? If we have another event like that, just on the beginning of the summer sometime, it should help to generate money to the town and the chamber all together. That's what I think.
Thank you. Mike?
Planning. Communication between, say, utility companies that might have upcoming projects where they'll be digging up the road. Make sure that we're not duplicating digging and repairing roads. I'll give an example, 56th Avenue, the extension to 864. That sat for a whole winter and nicely ground settled, paved it nice. 3 weeks later, town went in and dug it up to repair something that they knew about for many, many months prior. So that's just a lack of communication or a lack of planning. I mean, that could have been done many months prior to that. So you're just duplicating, creating work. So it'd been a lot less, expenses to do it with no pavement, no digging up the curve. Just one example I'm thinking of that popped in my mind.
Thank you. Danny?
Living in Taber and having a small business downtown, my dad's been down there since '76. I've seen council upgrade the sidewalks. It is nicer down there with, I think, the chamber's involvement. Roads are gonna dilapidate, and I think just constant maintenance and leaning on the town's admin's expertise. Now, regarding infrastructure in our affordable housing, for under 65, we only have 33 units. We have 3 that are special needs, so 36. I rode my bike past roads when these buildings were old. That infrastructure is lacking. The apartment buildings that there's 50 years old. I think we've got to more look at our infrastructure in our housing. I mean, we'll be budgeting roads forever. I got a picture of the Royal in 1906. The infrastructure is gravel, right? It's got better. So I think we got to lean on our needs in infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Councillor Sorensen, for that question. We'll go ahead for another question from the floor, please. Don't be shy. Okay, while you're thinking of that, I'll go back to more questions that have been submitted, or we have general questions. But please, as I'm doing that and as we have them work through this one, please, hopefully that'll spawn other questions. Let's utilize this time and be as well informed as we can. So don't be shy. No question is wrong. No question is, well, there are questions that are inappropriate, but no questions are, I shouldn't have said that. No questions are, too small or too big. Let's get those opinions. Okay, so this one I find is a very important question as well. And Ian, I think we have you up first on this one. What can we as a community do better to protect ourselves with opiate drugs and all drugs as a whole? And it's 2 parts. So what can we do as a community to protect our community with opiate drugs and drugs as a whole? And also, how do we protect our youth? Okay, so drugs, how do we protect our community? How do we protect our youth? Ian, please.
Well, first off, education, informing people of what's out there, how it can affect you, and secondly, may sound weird, but like safe injection sites, places where people who are already suffering from addiction could safely have injections, and with those, have people there that can offer them therapy to get off those drugs. Drugs itself is an addiction. It's something that we've kind of stigmatized, but it's not the person's fault. It's something that we as a community should help them overcome. Now, when it comes to youth, I think the easiest thing is offering more stuff for youth to do. Instead of like having youth just go off and head home after school, offer sports programs. It expands the arts, so kids who don't want to run around and play hockey have something else that they can go and do, so they're in a safe environment and not in a place where they could get exposed to said drugs.
Thank you. Dale, please.
It's a tough one for sure, and I think a lot of things that Ian's mentioned here are good, like education and, of course, developing some recreational facilities so hopefully they don't get into it in the first place. I think the police probably, if they can increase their surveillance in some areas, that helps too. Maybe a little bit something we don't have in the MD at Taber, maybe something that, I don't know if this will prevent, but it might be something we might look at doing, is some sort of a recovery center. Because I think that those things, I think they help a lot get past it, but get rid of opiates is pretty tough because it comes in and we'll do the best with the people we have here, but it's, I guess it's a difficult thing to kind of keep out. I'm done.
Thank you. Naomi?
So, as a board member of TCAPS, I'm not going to take credit for it because I haven't done the work into it. But there are some board members who are trying to provide information to pharmacists regarding different pharmaceuticals. I think we could have more open houses. There was one, I believe it was put on by TCAD a couple months ago, that was open to youth and parents that they could go and get information. I think it's great that we have a school resource officer that's available at the school that can have these discussions with the children, that gets to know all of them individually and can help provide a positive role model. I also believe that having activities and role models for children, if we had more opportunities in our community for some of those youth, that would help provide them with a stable base that they might not get so interested in something like that.
Thank you. Manny?
I think educate to the youth, education is, I think, most important. You teach them and put them more in the sports, spend more time with your youth, your kids, And I think if we have some cameras in the surrounding area, who the seller, should be hard punishment for the people who sell it. They should learn their lesson, even they do first time or they do second time. Just like the other countries that does, So I think education is most important for the youth about the drugs.
Thank you. Mike?
Certainly education. You can thank our federal government for kind of going lax on some of these laws, that it's making difficult for our policing to look after this stuff. Our premier went the right road by saying either treatment or incarceration. So I can speak to opiates as my oncologist had me on high doses of it. My brain told me that it's time to stop. My body said, you need to take more pills. So I can understand how these people in addiction stick with their addiction. But you have to want to quit. And that's the important part. You need to want to not do it anymore. And education's part of it. I can speak to it.
Thank you. Dan?
Say the question one more time. Thank you so much.
Yep. What can we as a community do to better protect ourselves with opiate drugs and all drugs as a whole? And part two, how do we protect our youth?
Okay, our youth is important, so I'm going to just start with them. For future recreational development, keeping our kids active, keeping them busy. When they first built the Tabor Skate Park, I wasn't old enough to, start using it, and I heard lots of people talk, it's just going to be a place that kids are going to hang out and, do drugs. It didn't end up that way. It ended up just being a great part of our community. We went on to move a spray park right beside it, right? Still, pitching future councils to keep going in them avenues, Trail 77, arts, stuff like that. Now, in regards to the community, I got 28 apartments in downtown Lethbridge. Mr. Croft brought up a safe injection site. Future councils got to be leery of that stuff. As of right now, they closed that down, and it is on everybody's mind that that's been the big push and the negative of downtown Lethbridge. Now, I've had family affected of drugs, so I understand, making it safe helps, but we just got to be leery of how we make it safe. We have a community policing program, like Tabor Police Service. Supporting that, I believe, has been great. Graham Abella, with my experience on the 3 years on the Tabor Police Force, I think he's got a great grasp on it. I was part of writing a letter here in the last bit where a gentleman...
We're going to cut you there, Dan. Sorry, thanks. Kat, please.
So as someone who works in downtown Lethbridge and has had a lot of experience with vulnerable populations, we need to keep doing exactly what we are doing. Tabor is an excellent place. We do not have an opioid crisis. There are drugs in Tabor. I know that a lot of people aren't aware of how many there are, but they do exist here. But we have an excellent police force. They are one of the best, and we are very fortunate to have our own municipal police force here in Tabor. We're excellent as far as the way that we address opioid crisis. Opioids lead to crime. Crime leads to property damage. Property damage leads to theft. All of those things together. If you look at the rates that come out from TPS, we're doing excellent in all of those pieces. So I think just continuing to support them, the work that they're doing in the MD to expand that reach. But that also aligns as far as including that in the budget every year and making sure that we have enough police to support all of those initiatives and support all of the staff that we need to make sure that we stay the same way that we are right now. As far as youth, we have some excellent things. Naomi talked about TCAD, which is an excellent group. Continuing to do presentations, continuing to support the school resource officers, making sure that they're available. I think that working on those community relationships so that kids that are in schools can reach out to their teachers or reach out to police or reach out to their SRO to talk about those kind of things, and as well as providing presentations to the community at large. A lot of people don't even know what they're looking for when it comes to opioids and what they're looking for when it comes to drug usage, how to deal with that, or even how to administer Narcan. So I think these are all really important things that we need to keep doing what we're doing because we're on a good track.
Thank you. And thank you for that good answers to tough question there. We do have, I think, just enough time to squeeze in one more question from the floor before we turn the time back over to the panel as far as giving their wrap up. So yes, one last question, please. Go ahead. Thank you. Good question. Dale, if we could start with you, please.
Yeah, visiting people, there were about 5 that did talk about what this issue that you spoke to, and I guess Taber really doesn't have a cat bylaw as far as they're concerned. So anyways, I think we do need to try to do something. It is a problem with a lot of people are concerned about the cats doing their thing in their, stray cats doing their thing in their gardens and playgrounds and that, and they'd like to see something happen with cats to make sure they're spaded and taken care of. And I would be certainly try to get something like that if I was elected, for sure, because I do think it's more of a problem than I realize. I mean, every once in a while I hear a cat outside my house, but I didn't realize it was quite the issue it is for some people, for sure. So no, I'd be interested for sure.
Naomi?
I do agree that there is a cat population problem in Taber. I believe that we should try and create some kind of trap, neuter, and release program so that we can have something in place so it doesn't continue to be a problem and keep growing the population of cats in town.
Manny?
I'm a pet lover. It doesn't matter to me what pet you have it. You have to be take care well. Even I'd like to upgrade if I have some kind of authority. I like to upgrade even a dog park, and same thing with something for cats too, and even all other the birds or something if they are rescue or something, we I think we should have something for them. So I will support all the time.
Mike, please.
Yeah, this is an ongoing issue for many, many years. I really can't speak to it. I'd investigate, options, but I couldn't give something definitive for sure.
Okay, thank you. Daniel?
All issues are important. I've been part of of many boards, learning, asking, finding out how to solve the problem. Yeah, I've been woken up in Westview Estates by many cat fights and stuff like that, so I can see the issue. My knowledge on the former program is limited. All I can say is I would learn, listen, and ask, and try to help where I could.
Cat?
So anyone that knows me knows I'm a dog person, but at the same time, I'd be more than willing to help with this initiative. I think that there's obviously an issue with feral cats everywhere, but I think we'd have to look at it the same way that we did with Lost Paws. So when Lost Paws first started, I was on the board when we were starting to get the society going. We had to work with Taber Police to ensure that we were following along with bylaws. So that's something else that we could talk to Taber Police about as far as the community standards unit. What does that look like? Is it a piece for that? I think an awareness piece. I also wasn't aware that we didn't have a cat rescue or that the cat rescue didn't exist anymore here in Taber. So maybe letting people know that we don't have one so people don't think that this is who's going to solve this problem. Bringing that forward, partnering with local vets also. I don't know if you do already do that through any of the other pieces that you do. But I think just making sure that people know it exists. If we are going to start something that's similar to Lost Paws but for dogs, or letting people know that Lost Paws isn't for cats as well. I think that's a big piece that people think. But yeah, you'd have to kind of start grassroots. I'd love to help support that, but I think that that's where you'd have to kind of get going from.
Ian, please.
I think Lost Paws does a fabulous job, and I think it would be wonderful if we have something like Lost Paws for cats. And I would love to see a volunteer organization come up of that, and I would support something like that on council. But in reality, if it doesn't, it's a case that, yes, we do need to look into other solutions of that. We need to respect Lost Paws' decisions to only focus on dogs and cover what else the community doesn't have currently handled.
Thank you. Well, I was challenged by my staff today, knowing that they knew I was doing this, and they challenged me to say the worst dad joke possible. So all those answers were perfect, and I think you all landed on your feet. So there we go. Okay. We are definitely at that time now where we are going to turn the time back over to the candidates to give 3 minutes each, if they wish, up to 3 minutes for their closing remarks and anything that they want to say. Naomi, we will start with you, and we'll give you, just as I'm kind of rambling here and doing some more, we'll give you a little bit of opportunity just to prepare, since you'll be first on this. Just a reminder again, they are 3 minutes. At 2.5 minutes, you'll see the yellow light, and at 3 minutes, you will see the red light. So Naomi, whenever you're ready, let's go ahead with that, please.
I am a person who strives for solutions, who is willing to put in the work to find ways to meet demands and develop long-term strategies to create stability, with the belief that a great town is built through team effort and communication, ideas, and a willingness to get to work. Not every suggestion is feasible, but it could spark a plan to improve our community. Creating a good quality of life for all citizens helps to stimulate growth and strong community. You need to be willing to serve and work alongside with the residents and our community to make our community strong for everyone. I believe that councillors should be transparent and accountable to those they represent and be willing to meet the community where they're at. Over the last few months, I have volunteered at a few local events and have been disappointed that town councillors were not more frequently present, particularly when there were MD councillors in attendance. I would like to thank everyone who has shown support, put signs on their lawn, and taken time out of their busy lives to reach out. Once again, thank you for everyone for attending. As this is a by-election, you will have the opportunity to cast a vote for one person. If you have any questions before the election on September 7th, please feel free to reach out to me on my Facebook page or by email with any questions that you may have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Manny, please.
For me, I like to be key member of between community and town council. That's my biggest thing, because I think that there is not enough communication between council and the town people. They get heard by just on the meetings twice in the month probably. Mostly people, they don't know where they go and watch them, what they're doing, the online meeting or stuff like that. So the second thing in my mind is the same thing like roads, economic growth in our town. We need more business in the town, So I love to work with older people and younger people, So that's my priority. I like to do something for the dog park, because lots of people asking me, please do something. We have a bad dog park. They're down there, and the roads. So I love this town. So please vote whatever the best for your idea. Thank you.
Mike, please.
Okay, excuse me. In closing tonight, first off, I'd like to thank those that signed my nomination paper. That's why I'm sitting here. Thanks to the hosts and the MC and to all those people that showed up. I'll sound repetitive here, but I can't promise anything of grandeur. I've worked in major projects. I've worked multinational oil companies in collaboration from planning to drawing reviews and projects from start to finish. So I'm very, very good at working with people and getting things done. I'll do what I can, in getting this, if I was elected, getting this permit process sped up, because in talking to the business owners and some developers, this is something that seems to be a real sore spot for them. So again, you learn as you go. You got to work with the existing council, collaborative. You're only one person, so. I will say this again also, we need to be a little better stewards of our taxpayers' dollars, and I'll really work with council and administration on improving this. Our facilities, our green spaces are really important. Something that just popped in my head one day watching the hundreds of or thousands of liters of water going down the street while they were draining the hydrants. Let's put a truck on that. Stick it in the park and water trees or something. Like, we don't need to put that down it's just going down into the sewer. So little things like that, just to keep our infrastructure. One of my neighbors had commented to me about he had wanted to put up his little treat shack, and he was told he wasn't allowed to at July 1st facilities, and apparently there was other trailers down there doing their thing. So somebody's picking winners and losers there, and we can't have winners and the town picking winners and losers. We need to rein in the gatekeepers, the ones that hold up production. So something I'd also like to say is our people that go around town beautifying our town, they don't get enough attention. So here to all those that go around and do all that great work to make our town look better. I look forward to the support of the citizens, and hopefully if I get elected, I can represent you. Closing, it's been my pleasure to be here, and I hope I'm your choice on September 7th. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mike. Daniel, please.
Okay, I'll keep the sentiment. Thanks for everybody coming. In order to keep our community thriving, it's necessary to support local businesses. It provides locals with job opportunities, and those businesses provide local services, which creates a flourishing community. Taber businesses are facing challenges such as inflation, staff shortages, and increasing debt load. These challenges need to be supported by Town Council. In order to help with staff shortage, Council needs to ensure an expanding community. The current 36 units for people under 65 needs to be a growing concern, especially with inflation and growing interest rates. When I think about Taber's future, I often think of its youth. I feel keeping them active and involved not only keeps them out of trouble, but teaches them valuable skills to thrive as adults. Council's continued support in growing recreational development, from rinks to bike paths, theaters, art, and much more, will keep Taber's future bright. In closing, I would love your support in becoming part of Town Council so I can be involved in Taber's today, tomorrow, and bright future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kat, please.
I'd just like to thank everyone for coming out tonight to the forum. I'd like to thank everyone online for watching the forum, and also to everyone who organized and volunteered to be here tonight. I'd also like to thank my family and friends who have all been extremely supportive of this council run for me, and I couldn't have done any of this without their support. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity of being here today and allowing myself to share me with you. I'm excited for this opportunity, and I truly appreciate the support I've received from so many local residents and businesses to run in this by-election. It's been a pleasure to be part of this entire experience. I'd just like to reiterate my ideals, which include growth, such as inclusive growth, sustainable growth, resilient growth, economic growth, and community growth. I'd also like to talk about community, which includes available jobs, the adequate housing supply, affordable housing, healthy residents, local retail support. Safety, which includes safe neighborhoods, emergency services support for TPS and Tabor Fire, community partnerships, safety equality, and community capacity. And lastly, action, which includes follow-through, hard work, competency, professionalism, and dedication, all qualities that I believe I possess as a human. I plan to be approachable, accessible, transparent, and open to listening to concerns, ideas, and different perspectives. I truly believe that if you are always talking, you are not listening. People want to be heard and have their concerns and successes validated. They want someone who will follow through and advocate for them. I will always be the most prepared person in the room, and I will follow through on everything I am involved with to the very end. I'd just like to leave you with a quote from Frank Herbert. Good governance never depends upon the laws, but upon the personal qualities of those who govern. The machinery of government is always subordinate to the will of those that administer that machinery. The most important element of good government, therefore, is a method of choosing leaders. I believe I'm the best person for this role, and on September 7th, I would encourage you to vote for me. You won't regret it.
Thank you. Ian, please.
Again, I would just like to thank the people who were running this, made it possible. I would like to thank all of you for coming out and participating within our democracy, as well as thanking the other council nominees who came out who want to put their hat forward. As council, I just hope to offer a new perspective to the council, and again, I just want to serve the community and give back to it. And I feel like on the council, I can address issues that affect the youth that could ensure that they remain in Tabor and that Tabor can grow. And finally, most importantly, go out and vote on the 7th. Tell your friends, tell other people, go out to vote, participate in this democracy. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you.
And Dale, we'll give you the last word.
The last word, huh? First off, I'd like to thank you all for coming, and I'd like the Chamber of Commerce thank them for setting this up. I don't think you have a bad choice here. I think all the people have exhibited some passion for Tabor and some good ideas, and I think you could try to go ahead and match them with your values and who you think will get out there and work and do things. We can talk a lot about things, but the bottom line is it has to be, you have to put your shoulder to the wheel a little bit and get things done. I do, the one thing, and I didn't talk enough about it, and Naomi mentioned it, and I should have. This past July, we had a 33% increase in hampers taken from the food bank. That's dramatic. I think we really have to kind of focus a little bit on trying to help people go ahead and, you know, whether it's an expansion of the vegetable farm. I visited with a lady, she had a pretty good idea. She thinks that, you know, Tabor would be a good spot to have some sort of some fruit tree farm. I think that area behind the ballparks where I'm working at Ken McDonald, there's a good space in there, and they got water there. Maybe we try to do that. But certainly if we've got a 33% increase, and a lot of these people are working poor. They can't afford to get that. So I think we really have to try to do what we can to kind of get that forward and improve their quality of life. I do have a bit of an idea on saving taxes, and this comes from my not really town really lore in it, but my my in-laws in Saanich, BC, they have a program there where you could pay your taxes between Christmas and New Year's, and you get at that time it was a 4.5 reduction in your taxes. What happens is the government then takes the local government takes it and they put it into a GIC, and you cash it in the next January. So in reality, you've got the banks paying part of your tax load. That sounds pretty good to me. If I'm elected, I'd like to try to get something going along that, or at least explore it. Lastly, I'd like to thank my wife and my daughters and my sisters and cousins at Nowhere when I visited with somebody and said my last name. Was there any kind of door slam or anything like that? Although my one person that I did bump into, he wanted to know if I was a Habs fan like cousin Eric, and I assured him I wasn't, so everything was good after that.
Well, thank you, everyone. That does conclude our evening. I was going to ask a question about hockey loyalty, but I didn't go there. That just wouldn't have been fair. That shouldn't come into play, but Oilers all the way. Again, I just want to reiterate some thank yous. First, Ann Jensen sits at the back, and she organizes all of these every year, and every time that we do that, she's kind of behind the scenes. She doesn't like to be out front, but let's put her out front with a big applause here. I can't tell if that's her red face or the lady's red shirt in front of her, so it's all blended together. And of course, for everyone who's put themselves out to be part of this election, to step forward, to want to fill this role, to do the best. We heard, I think, I agree that, you know, every one of these candidates showed some passion tonight, and I'm so very grateful for that as a citizen. And so let's give them, again, another big round of applause for everything that they're doing. And thank you for all of you for coming and caring enough to be here. Drive safe, and hopefully you've been informed. And again, like we heard, please go out and vote and encourage everyone around you to do the same. Thank you. Have a good night.